Welcome everybody. Hopefully this new mic situation goes okay. The arm doesn't get here till tomorrow, but I wanted to make a video, so I'm kind of holding this mic instead of having it on a boom. It came with 5/8 fine thread, which is 27 pitch, and the boom is a Chinese boom. When I got a Zeal Sound and everything as a kit, a streamer kit for $30. So, anyways, it's a coarse thread, which is a 16 pitch, not even a standard thread, which is a 20 pitch. But anyways, hopefully this works out. Hopefully I sound better. This is going to be a test video, but also I'm going to be reacting to a guy named Karl from Germany. Let's go ahead and switch over. All right. Like usual, let me scroll this up a little bit so you can see if this guy does some good reactions or good contemplating. He's I think an engineer. Right, hit that all, give it that thumbs up, leave a comment down below if you want. But that's his name. Find him on YouTube. I got his information in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started and let's see if we can answer some of his questions, at least from a Texan's point of view, and one who's worked in the oil field industry, ranching industry, you name it. Everything from an arborist to a contract worker, from rough construction to finishing construction, you name it, almost every job you could think of, including worked at Guido's as a chef back in the day, which is a restaurant on the seawall in Galveston. And I'm an old late 80s to mid 90s, or no, late 80s to 2000, almost 2000. I think it was like 98. But, anyways, pitmaster for competition barbecues in Texas. That'll come on a later video. I'm going to do reacting to the 2026 FIFA foreigners coming to visit us and the Texas barbecue, and some insights on how to tell good barbecue just from looking at it. And we're talking about all the aspects of it, not just, whether or not it tastes good, but other aspects about it too. So let's get started.
What? I have never seen something like this. Welcome and guten Tag. I'm Karl, I'm a German engineer, and today I want to know, why are Americans obsessed with big cars? So we're gonna have a look at this video today, published by CNPC. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, and I'm excited. I like cars, but actually I've never been to America, so I really want to know why Americans love big cars. So let's go. Oh, what a nice
Americans love big cars.
Big cars they're fun, they're roomy. I mean, this thing, when you go down the road in it, people notice it.
The U.S. is the country of Cadillacs
awesome.
with massive tail fins and oversized pickup trucks.
We are
I would
all
like to
about
drive such a
wide open
Cadillac.
spaces here, and we drive big cars because we can.
Compared
Yeah,
with Europe
sure.
or countries like Japan, the market for bigger cars in America is just, well, bigger. In Europe, for example, small cars like city cars, subcompacts, and compact cars.
I mean, that's such a difference. That's why it's so interesting. Look at this. It may even be a German Autobahn. Look at the cars. Like, is there even one pickup? Not really. So,
All right. Yeah, is there one pickup? All right. So if that was an American highway or interstate or whatever, since the Autobahn is where we got our interstate system from, thanks Dwight Eisenhower. I think it was him. But anyways, this vehicle right here, this vehicle right here, these vehicles, sure, they're 18 wheelers, but that vehicle right there, this vehicle right there, and maybe this one behind it, and that one right there. And it doesn't look like there's any over there. But, anyways, they're doing the equivalent of what we in Texas and typically America do with our cars. We like them big for a reason. We don't just get from point A to point B with a couple of bodies in a car. Our car is there to make us money. And so we need to haul tons behind our vehicle, and in some fields we need to haul tons in the bed of the truck, wood, lumber, bricks, concrete, uh, powders, the bags, or concrete blocks, paving stones, plywood, you name it, whatever you could think of. We're hauling. Our truck is for hauling stuff, and we're typically doing that to either save money on a project. uh, well, that's almost 99% of the reason. And we need that power to get it to where we need to go. And like my thumbnail shows a picture of a four-door truck hauling like a heavy equipment. We need to get those where they need to go, and the tires that we put on them will determine what we're doing with them, which is why, like in Texas, it's dirt roads, and when it rains, it's muddy roads. And so mudding isn't just a playtime sport, it's an actually playtime testing of the tires that you have on it. If you are hauling something, can you get out of it? And if you know how your truck responds in the mud, or on dry dirt roads, then you know whether or not you need to unhook, get yourself unstuck, and then get the trailer pulled out separately, or if you can actually just do it yourself and pull the trailer out by getting you and the trailer unstuck without unhooking from it. That's a difference between making it happen yourself or calling a bigger tow truck to come pull the whole unit out or one individually. So that's one reason that we have large vehicles, and that includes with our cars. So large cars started at first because we have family, and we need room in there for your family to sit. The kids in the back, or at least 70s, 80s when I grew up, kids in the back always arguing, "Oh, don't touch me, brother," or whatever, or or move away. I don't want to sit next to them, or whatever going on back there. Don't make me reach back there and hit you, or whatever. All the 80s. But anyways, that's typically why Texans have big vehicles, is it's always being utilized to make us money. And there's no point of having three cars, one for making you money, one for just going to the store for groceries, and then another for hauling your kids, uh, you're around, back and forth to school, practice, after school events, whatever, them kind of things. That's just a waste of money. But your big truck, or your big SUV, or your Jeep, or whatever, can haul your boat. It can haul your trailer with your lawn equipment on it for your business, your TLB, your skid steer, whatever it is. It can haul it to the job site, and when you're done, you can take your kids and go pick them up while you're coming home from work, whatever. Uh, so that's how Americans see vehicles. They're we are passionate about the vehicle and dressing them up, which is why you see us put the nice rims on them. We put the better shocks on them. Some of us jack them up, some of us lower them down, just depending on what future use we have for them, and how much we can get away. So your squatted ones usually have stronger airbag systems on it instead of spring-loaded gas shocks. Therefore, they can still tow the same amount of weight, sometimes more if you reinforce the frame a little sometimes, or anyway. So yes, we are proud in our vehicles, and we dress them up and we make them look as nice as possible. But they're a utility truck. It's that simple, and we love them because they can do so many things, and you only have to buy one. So if you can get away with a Suburban or a Jeep Grand Cherokee, then you can do that. or if you get away with a smaller truck, like the old Ford F, not the F-150s, the Ford Ranger, or like a Nissan Frontier or stuff like that, then get away with that. But typically, you'll see us always have extended cabs, four doors or larger, uh, for our vehicles because we're also hauling family members, groceries on top of work stuff to make us money. So that's a good start off because I have a feeling since he's missed the point already, he's going to keep asking the question. So that's why I gave a long explanation right off the front. And let's go ahead and continue.
So the car culture is a bit different.
Made up more than 35% of sales in 2021. In the US, the same three segments made up just over 10% of sales. Consumer demand has driven automakers to make vehicles bigger and bigger. Regulatory loopholes favoring trucks, say some industry analysts, have helped the shift. Big cars are more expensive.
Yeah, so that's what I've heard before. Something about the regulations that companies push pickup trucks so much. But he, in the first place, said it's consumers who wanted big trucks. Yeah, hopefully they explain it more.
Much more, and especially if they burn gasoline, more harmful to the environment. They take up more space on the road and in parking lots. They are also much more fatal in car accidents.
But you guys also have huge roads and huge parking lots, so that's also a difference.
Yes, we did not design. That's okay. From the 2026 FIFA, I'll be talking about this more in that video coming out in the next couple days once I get the arm set up and I'm not holding this mic by hand and stuff. But I'll touch on it real quick. Uh, America is big. Warning, big, big. So, anybody in the European, that's Germany, is if you're not in Russia trying to drive from west to east in one drive, think about that's the equivalent of just trying to cross Texas. So, all your little towns and stuff, y'all are just y'all aren't using your vehicles for work. Y'all might be using them to get to work. So that's just point A to point B and maybe stop off at the grocery store every week. Americans don't do that. We typically grocery shop either every 2 weeks or once a month. And so we go pick up $600 worth of groceries, so to speak. That's a lot of groceries. And that's why also I'll touch more on that in the 2026 FIFA video of why we have large items to sell for family gatherings, barbecues, all kinds of things. So, big jar of pickles uh, seems crazy to everybody else, but guess what? I could buy a big jar of pickles. I could split them into spears and put them on a plate. I can also slice up some for burgers and so on and so forth. And it's all out of one jar, and it's cheaper than trying to buy 14 of the smaller jars to equal the same amount of pickles because it's just one jar, one package, and it's less waste. So, anyway, so America was built on the idea of everything is large, and we need to be able to get these vehicles. So, all our parking lots are originally built that way. Uh, all our streets, roads, even through neighborhoods, quiet neighborhoods, uh, there are still a few roads where it's only like 1.5 cars wide. Uh, Basically, one big truck pulling a boat or something can go down it, and nobody else can. You got to pull off the side of the road in somebody's front yard. And typically, those roads we don't have ditches in front of those houses, so that you can pull off. So anyway, so yeah, we're designed around having vehicles, utility vehicles that do work that make us money because we're used to going out and actually working, putting our backs into it. Our trucks is hauling the heavy equipment or the material. We get to the job site, we unload that stuff. We get to building, we get to working, we get to operating, whatever it is we're doing. We get the job as best done for the day that we can. We get it all loaded back up and we take it home and get ready for the next day. So all our roads are built for that kind of stuff, which is why we have a lot of delivery going on here. Like, so companies can get their products, uh, say like the spines or the whole thing of a windmill, right? The new electric windmills, wind generators, whatever you want to call them. we have roads large enough to travel those, right? To get them from point A to point B, which they're almost the size of a football field. So imagine putting a football field on a trailer and trying to drive it down any other road in the world if you're not in America. That's crazy talk, right? You'd have to fly it in. But we can drive it straight to there, and we have cranes so large, the crane itself is bigger than the windmill, and it's got to go down the road too and get to the spot. So we're all about construction, building, improving, and so infrastructure, and that's why our vehicles are big. All right, let's and our roads are wide and everything else. It's not for the joy of it. Sure, that's a secondary pleasure, and we find pleasure in that. But anyways, let's get back.
To Germany and Europe.
Our current system of regulating safety of vehicles is not providing a check on the weight of vehicles and the disparity of weight across the fleet.
CNBC looked into America's obsession with big cars and why it matters.
How heavy is an average American car?
This car is huge. It's almost
All right, how heavy is the average American vehicle? Vehicle would be around 32 to 3,500 pounds. So basically 1.5 tons. Now, cars today, not counting electrical cars, but regular cars today will run you between, and just cars and light trucks will run you between 2,200, so a ton 200 to 3,100. So your average there is about 36, 37, 2,700 pounds. So a ton and 700 would be the average for your cars. Now, when you get into standard trucks like the Ford F-150, what's it called, the Escalade, all the way up to Ford F-650s, your average will jump. It'll jump up to about 3,600 to 4,200 average. So an F-150 is relatively light. I think they run, I'm just going off the top of my head, and the last I remember weighing these vehicles back in the day and building in them and stuff, uh, that was 2010. So, but they were roughly around 3,200 for F-150. That wasn't four door. That was just your standard two door with maybe a small cab in the back, and there would be no window, or maybe there was a window in 2010. But, anyways, no extra third and fourth door, just the front two doors. I think, well, it might have been 2010 that they came out with that little mini door. But, anyways, roughly 3,200 pounds for average for your trucks. Like I said, around 2,600, 2,700 for your light small trucks, light small trucks, like your Ford Ranger and your Nissan Frontiers, and then your cars like your Nissan Sentras and Honda Civics and so on and so forth. That all right. Let's get back.
20 feet. Why are they so big?
Oh, I love these Cadillacs.
Gas was a quarter when
They
this
look
car
so
was made.
awesome.
Who cared what the gas mileage was? And we wanted comfort, and we wanted style, and we wanted space.
You
This
definitely
is
got
Rick
style.
Payton. He is a General Motors loyalist. He loves Cadillacs.
I mean, even from a German perspective, the German cars are definitely designed differently if you think about Mercedes, Audi, etc. But it's, I'd say, especially, okay, I get it. It's a classic car, it's Cadillacs, etc. But the design is different. But it's, I personally think it's just so nice in its own way. It's maybe that's makes it so special that it has its own design.
Especially Cadillacs from the brand's heyday in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. At that time, big cars meant something similar to what they mean today: luxury, comfort, and status. Driving a lumbering Cadillac or Lincoln Continental signified that you were a person living the good life.
My aunt had a 7.
Oh, give me a second. Let me go back to that white car. That one right there. Two headlights. The front grill. Is that a Corvette? that like a 55 Corvette? 56? No, yeah, could be somewhere in there. 55, 56, 50. I don't think it's a 57. It could be. That's what that is. That car weighed, I think it was 32. So 3,200 pounds to 2,800, somewhere in there. That car, and that was considered a sports car. That's one of the first Corvettes. Uh, I think 55 is 54, 55. I think they designed in 54, first produced and sold in 55 or something like that. Corvette. And I can't remember if the two headlights was first and then they moved it down to one, or if it was one headlight and then either the next year or the second model, no, second model or third reproduction came out with two headlights. Anyways, it looks like a Corvette though. Might not be. I might be wrong, but it looks like one.
Status. Driving a lumbering Cadillac or Lincoln Continental signified that you are a person living the good life.
My aunt had a 79 Coupe de Ville, and I remember that car as a kid and fondly remember it.
He has 2 classic Cadillacs and a Buick in his garage in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and several more such cars in a shop a few towns away.
This is a Cadillac Eldorado. This was the king of the heap in 55. So this was the most expensive car they made.
Yeah,
this
so
is
that's
the second most expensive.
that's a typical picture I have in mind of
This is a 55
American garage.
So cool things about this. Where would you put gas in this car?
Oh, I couldn't stop it fast enough. But yes, that was one of the cool things about back in the day. They used to, Cadillac would hide it in the tail light because the lines to keep it smooth and not have a open, circle or square or whatever shape you made it, door flap, to make it smooth looking and clean. They ran, because underneath the trunk is where the fuel tank was, and so they just ran the pipe instead of straight up to here to the side and cut a hole in the side. They just ran the pipe uh right here up to here, through here, came to here, and then 90 up. So well, it's not a 90 completely, but it's pretty close. It's about a 20 22.4 degrees or something like that insert, and then it goes down and it comes down the wall and then it curls in towards the tank, and then the big tank is underneath the trunk bed. So anyway, so yeah, that's why they used to do that. It was a luxury car. It was supposed to look good.
What?
There it is. There's
Car's about
In the
19
real life?
feet
yep.
something.
See how it would look
His collection-
terrible if you had to add too many
Why
more
would you
lines
fuel
in
the
it.
car in the real light? I have never seen something like this. And I don't think we have this in Germany. That's crazy. I would like to know why they did that. Maybe they didn't want to have the fuel cap on the side. Well, that's very fancy. By the way, if you enjoyed this video so far, please give it a subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Yes. Go subscribe to him, hit that thumbs up, notification bell, and leave a comment in there. Tell him I sent you, and support what he does. I found him the other day because he was doing a video on the interstates here in America and how they're set up. So he found out that all the ones that end in 0 go from east to west, and all the ones that end in 5 go from south to north. And so it's easily set up so that you can find your way around from Seattle, Washington, all the way to Maine, or New York is I-90, I think, and then uh, Interstate 10 for going all the way through Texas to Florida, and so on and so forth, and in between. So, anyways, that's where I found them at. Good video. Check that out too if you like to know about engineering and why we have the interstate system and why we copied the Autobahn from Germany to build it. So for not only ease of use, transportation, logistics for businesses, but also the same reasons for military transportation and security of our lands, and to get heavy equipment light military things and 18-wheelers across strong roads that support faster delivery and activation and operational. All right, let's get back.
The American obsession with big vehicles stretches back decades. Cars such as his Cadillac Fleetwood were the most desirable rides of their day.
This was the king of the heap. I mean, they didn't make a more luxurious car in the United States in 1961 than this. This is one of the biggest cars that you could buy at the time. This was the SUV of the day.
How long
this
is
is
it?
the closest representation of what an Escalade is back then.
Ed Kim runs Auto Pacific, which conducts surveys and other research for automakers, suppliers, and others in the auto industry.
One of the things that researchers commonly ask is, what size of vehicle do you want next time? And there will almost always be a significant number of people that say, I want something bigger next time.
Customers express preferences for bigger vehicles.
That's kind of a cliche we have in Germany about America. Is it a cliche like that everything is bigger? So I'm not surprised you guys want it to be bigger and bigger. But actually, why is that? Like, why do Americans like things to be big and bigger and bigger?
All right, like I said earlier, let me touch on something I haven't touched on yet. Like I said, the cars was a status. So just so happens, I think the Cadillac is the car that JFK got shot in when he was going through Dallas. And when you have a casket with a body in it, it's heavy. So that's why we have hearses. Our families. So like my parents are siblings of 6+ kids each, so not them together. Just my father was 7, and my mother was 4. And then their parents were like 12, 16, 18 kids, right? So that would have been back, and one of my grandmothers were born in 1920. So their time as an adult with their kids, with those 16 kids, 12 kids, needed a car, needed a vehicle that you could fit them all in. Hence why you'll see less today, but if you look at anything from the 80s, 90s, all the Hollywood movies that showed trucks with a bunch of kids in the back, that is why. Can only fit like one kid in the middle of between you and your wife in the front seat of a truck. And then if it was manual, which most people drive manual anyways, it's the better way to drive. But anyways, the manual stick would get in the way with your kid there. And so you just put all the kids in the back of the truck. That way you can still shift and drive right. They knew to stay their butts down because they would ride in the back of the truck on your land to go check on the horses, cows, or whatever, right? Check on the fence line and all that. So they knew how bumpy rides could throw you over the side easy. And so they knew to stay down and stay up against the cab on the back and don't stand up or anything. Best case scenario is lay down and look up at the sky while you're driving. But anyways, that's that's a smaller detail about why the cars got kind of big. It was more of a status to hold your family in and look good. Because when you're by yourself, you're just looking good. But when you're going to the store, you look good and you got 700 people in there with you to go grocery shopping or whatever.
Automakers respond to that. Take, for example, the BMW 3 Series, an iconic performance sedan. When it was first introduced, it was far smaller than it is today.
Yeah, that's how the classic cars in Germany look like. BMW and Mercedes also kind of a similar look, also very nice, but not as I just say.
Yes, think about this. If you stand on one foot and someone pushes you, do you fall easier than if you were standing with your feet spread wide in the horse stance, the martial arts horse stance? Think about that. So if you're going around a corner, because speed limits have increased, like here in Texas, they were at 85 at one point. I think they brought them back down to 70. Uh, I know the road that I live, the main highway I live off of is a 70-mile-an-hour road. So when you're going around long winding roads through the forest, up and down hills and swerves and stuff at 70 miles an hour, the wider your car is, uh, the better for stability around those corners, for traction, for camber, toe, contact patch of your tires, basically. Uh, and so the longer the wheelbase, the more you can mess that up. So when you get to longer vehicles like long trucks and stuff, which is probably why they only go certain amounts with the bed, probably like so if you got a four-door truck, most likely you don't have more than a 6 foot bed because the overall wheelbase versus how wide it is like the maximum. Any longer without going wider causes instability. So we have a ratio of how wide we want to be, how wide we're allowed to be. A car can be built. I think it's like 6 foot, some inches, or something like that. 6 foot and a half. I can't remember, but there's a certain amount of width that we can go legally to build vehicles, and so that determines the length of a truck also, which is why we put aftermarket rims on that makes the tire stick out further. There's rules on that. They can't be past 2.5 inches without adding extra fenders or those little fake fender uh, things that go over it that you attach to your car that you see on some. Uh, anyways, so that's the reason why America designs our cars the way we do. We're thinking of stability for traction on the road in all conditions, high wind, water sitting on there to make your hydroplane, all that. We're thinking of all that when we build our cars. That's all safety so that you can be safe and have fun driving. Uh, we didn't think, like y'all did, which was, oh, we're just driving, 5 feet down the road to the store and we're only going to get up to 30 miles an hour. Therefore, we can have the tiniest car possible with all the instabilities. But if we ever drive past 35 miles an hour, the car, when you're taking a corner, would just flip over and roll. Well, that's due to it being so small.
They maybe crazy like the Cadillac, like the huge back and the fancy interior and everything. Yeah.
A lot of people kind of consider the E36 generation, which came out in the early
that
90s,
looks
to kind
boring
of
in
be an ideal
comparison.
embodiment of what a 3 Series should be. But it just kept getting bigger to the point where now it's not so far off from what the 5 Series was not that long ago.
Kim says that this kind of size creep, where automakers bulk up a specific model over time, might result from misinterpreting survey data.
Automakers take that data very literally and take that to mean, okay, we need to make the next generation of this vehicle bigger. And then because automakers always benchmark each other automakers end up doing the same and they make.
Yeah, but that's not the main factor for those using those analytics that they provide. The factor is the engine's horsepower since the engine was created, both electrical and the ICE, internal combustion engine, uh, have grown in horsepower and in torque, which in turn goes back to that stability issue I was talking about. So our speed limits have increased, and the amount of torque and H horsepower, so cubic inch, CC, CI is cubic inch, and then the CC is cubic centimeters squared. So cubic inch squared and cubic centimeter squared. So if you ever see an engine say it's 3,500 cc or 360 CI, that's the size of the engine. And due to it having faster takeoff and everything, that's why our brakes had to increase. That's why all cars had to widen up. And BMW and Acura here and all them, well, they're in the sport car look and the sport car feel for the sedan price. So they had to widen the car itself. And if you keep the short base with the wide car, you create a square. And nobody likes a square car. So you have to extend the base. This is why vehicles grew over time all around the world. Uh, uh, Japan is probably the only one that still makes them K cars on purpose. Uh, but those cars' engines are seriously limited. So they can get you up to speed and they can do the things they do. They just don't have the umph that America needs. We need that umph because even this car right here can get a tow package on it and pull a trailer, uh, like a little camper tent trailer behind it, so that they can go cross country in and go see all the parks and national parks and stuff around America and visit stuff like that. Or pull a motorcycle, so they can go to Colorado with their car and their motorcycles on the back, and they can get out in Colorado, get on their motorcycles, and go ride around in the scenic routes in the Colorado mountains and stuff, or whatever. So that's why the analytics aren't purely based on them misinterpreting that people want bigger cars or need bigger cars. It's due to the fact that the industry gain technology to make engines better, bigger, to do more work. And so it had to get wider. And of course, getting wider makes it square. So it had to get longer too to maintain the ratio of stability.
Their vehicles bigger, and the
Oh,
cycle
okay,
goes
so
on
it's
and
like a
on and on.
race.
On some of these, what they call heavy duty trucks, like the Ford F-250, the 2500 series Ram and Silverado, the front edge of that hood is now 55 inches or more off the ground. And that's as tall as the roof of some sedans.
Okay, those trucks are almost, I can't say exclusively, but they are literally designed to be on ranches where the cow itself would roll onto the hood, shatter the glass, and roll over the top from the lower, what do you call it, from the original trucks. So it being higher, if you accidentally hit a loose cow going down your back road to your ranch and you're passing someone else's ranch and a cow gets out through the fence and they're in the road, uh, if you hit them, it will literally sink into the center to where that Chevy symbol is. It'll sink in there, crushing, and the crush force will crush real fast, right? And it won't roll up onto the hood and then break the glass and smash the top of the cab, thus hurting the occupants inside in the front seat. Uh, and it's designed also that when that impact also happens, whether it's a car, uh, say a car is in front of it and it slams on the brakes, he slams on the brakes too. Most of the time, that truck will ride or forcibly slide, grind, whatever you want to call it, up the back end because it'll miss the crash bar or the bumper support of the vehicle, of the car in front of it, and it'll crush in the tail lights and the trunk area. And of course, that gives way easy, and so the car will ride up and sit on top of it. Yeah, I know it's a crazy thing, but that is what happens in your wrecks and stuff. And that design, uh, I don't know if that's what they had in mind, but we know that's why we buy it. Because when you're on a ranch and horses and cows, how big they are, that is the size you need so that if you accidentally did hit one, like I said, gets out and you're going down the road at 50 miles an hour, it no longer now just instantly rolls up and goes through the windshield and kills the occupants. So it's a safer design, and that's why we buy them. I don't know if that's why the manufacturers designed it this way, knowing, but probably the feedback from the people who buy the most of them, like I said, ranchers and other people hauling super equipment for the ranches, like feed trucks, watering trucks, big old potable water, uh, on the back and stuff for their fields for farmers, not just cattle ranchers and stuff. But anyways, let's move on.
The reintroduced
I
Ford
can imagine
Ranger
that.
is bigger than the outgoing version that was discontinued.
But I'm wondering, why would you like the truck and also the hood to be so high? Is it because you have a better view on the roads? Because as a pedestrian, it's much more dangerous, isn't it? Because as a driver, it's harder to see what's going on the road, and um,
Negative on that. We use our eyes and ears when we drive in Texas. I can't say for others. We pay attention when we're in areas where there are likely things to run out. And say you're going down a rural road, the speed limit's 15, 20 miles an hour. Uh, and there's cars parked on the side of the road, not in their driveways, but actually on the side of the roads in front of their houses. Every time we are coming up to that kind of situation, we first look to the right for the car on the right. We first look in the front yard to see if there's anything there. We start slowing down to about 10 to 8 miles an hour when we're next to that car. And then as we're getting close to where our front end's about to match that parked car's front end, we now are looking down uh, to make sure nothing is running out. But by then we're doing about 5 miles an hour, and then we'll slowly pick back up. And we'll do that every time we see a car. And that's how Texans drive, or Texan men drive. Uh, that's all I can speak on. Uh, so we're not just willy nilly running, if a kid for a kid to get hit, they'd have to be doing the same thing. So a car parked on the side of a highway, an interstate highway where the speed limit is 55, 70 miles an hour, and then run around the front of the car and then out into traffic. That'd be the only way we'd not notice it, or notice it too late and something would happen. And so we're not that concerned about your because you're not thinking of how to drive correctly. See, if you learned how to drive correctly over there in the rest of the world and paid attention to how Texans drive, y'all would have the mentality to understand how to drive, like what you're actually looking for while you're driving. So operating the vehicle should be so second nature to you that what you're doing first nature is paying attention. So let's move on.
There may even be a small kid in front of you, and it's much harder to see, or at least I imagine, if the hood is so high. Is that a thing?
Continued in 2011. In fact, when Ford dropped the old Ranger in 2011, it said it did so because not enough people were buying small trucks to keep producing it.
It isn't necessarily that trucks themselves are getting bigger. It's more that when a bigger option is available, more customers buy it.
SUVs, crossovers, and pickup trucks now dominate car sales.
Wow, that is very interesting. So it means in 2008, family cars, normal cars, are pretty much on the same amount of sales than SUVs. And in the last decade, SUVs became much more popular. So it's a very current trend.
Dominate car sales.
All right, yeah, SUVs became a thing because they needed a utility vehicle back when there was pretty much only car versus truck. So the Ford Bronco, which is the beginnings of your future Escalade, which is the larger version, and your Jeep Grand Cherokees and stuff. So we had the Jeep, which wasn't good for almost anything. It was a cruising the beach type thing, mudding, stuff like that. Sure, you could probably, you could pull a couple jet skis or whatever on it back in the 80s, 70s, 80s or whatever. But yeah, the SUV started off with the Bronco, the Jimmy, Chevrolet Jimmy, I think it was, and Bronco, and then they slowly grew bigger and bigger. And that was so that your wife and taking the kids to soccer practice or cheerleading practice or whatever can also pick up the other cheerleaders or the other soccer players and take them after practice or a game to the restaurant to celebrate or whatever, and then take them all home and be safer. Larger vehicle, higher off the ground, you could see better, and you had more room to fit all their stuff in there, plus all the kids. And then eventually it got bigger to the Suburban, where now you're picking up the whole squad, all 15, 18 of the kids playing soccer or cheerleading practice or whatever. Uh, and still fit all their equipment in the back too, right? And still be safe and secure in your vehicle and easy to get around. So that's why that is.
Some researchers say that regulations have incentivized automakers to make bigger vehicles. Kate Whitefoot is a researcher who has studied emissions rules. She says that when the government started regulating fuel efficiency,
Okay. This lady's dumb. Let's go back for a second.
dominate car sales. Some researchers say that regulations have incentivized automakers to make bigger vehicles. Kate White
have incentivized the lower regulations for the two classifications of a passenger vehicle versus a light truck. Was That's not right. She's dumb. You can just tell she's dumb. Matter of fact, it looks like a guy. I'm not going to say she. Uh, he's dumb. I guess he, she, whatever. That person is dumb. Uh, we passed regulations for the light truck classification instead of the passenger because we use it more to make money. So we use it more on the farms to pull the heavy equipment and less on having our kids in it. Sure, when the wife can't go pick up the kids from school and we have to do it while we're out doing stuff because they're busy, we might disconnect from our trailer or our work and use our work truck to go pick them up, take them home real quick, go back to the job site. But typically, we don't just run around with our kids in it 24/7. That's why it's called a work truck in the first place, a utility vehicle, right? That's why we have them. We're not trying to put 1,000 miles on it running kids around because we're literally towing heavy stuff and putting already a strain on the vehicle. So it's only going to last a very short time. So just putting extra miles on to run your kids around is not what you typically do, which is why the regulations are lower because we asked for that because we're not typically taking kids around. So it is literally a utility truck. It's a work truck. So the regulations on it needed to be brought down. So because it's a bigger vehicle to make it cheap enough for us to still afford a car or SUV for the kids and wife, and us to have a truck to go to work and make money and bring the bacon home, right? So that's why we petitioned the government for regulations to be lowered on that classification, so that so otherwise, let's say in today's money, a truck's like what, $60,000 to $80,000, right? And a car's like $20,000 to $50,000 for just regular cars. Not talking about nothing fancy, and just regular trucks, nothing fancy. Uh, Without those regulations, our trucks would be 120, okay, and our cars would be 50, and so that you'd have to already be making boogoos of money. You couldn't buy a truck to make money. You would have to already be making boogoos of money to get the truck in the first place, and that would stop people from being able to farm on their land. Tow in heavy equipment to fix and run their own products like electrical lines or sewer lines or feed lines or irrigation systems or whatever, and that would just be like stifling the economy. So the regulations were brought down so that the manufacturing can be cheaper, and therefore the end product was cheaper, so that we could buy it and actually do our thing. So that's why the regulations were brought down. This person right here, like I said, has no clue what men do with their trucks and why we have these regulations. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is a woman, because if this was a man acting like a woman, he would know that because his father would have taught him that, and he would have seen it throughout his whole life. So this is probably a real woman that has no idea why regulations on light trucks are different than passenger vehicles. Uh, and because she doesn't know that, her whole field of expertise is null and void. She needs to go get a job at Jack in the Box or McDonald's or Sonic or something and be the fry person, and a special note on her application that says never make manager.
Lightfoot is a researcher who has studied emissions rules. She says that when the government started regulating fuel efficiency in the 1970s, rules didn't take into account the size of the vehicles an automaker sold.
Okay.
But a lot of companies importing into the US market were selling smaller cars that by nature burned less fuel. So in the early 2000s, new regulations introduced what is called a footprint-based standard.
Okay,
That
that's
meant
interesting
that
now.
automakers that sold larger vehicles could meet less stringent regulations, and that was built out of this desire to kind of protect the U.S.-based automakers and fairly distribute.
Yeah, no. It was our passenger cars, not the light truck regulations that was passed to protect our automakers, because there was no truck in the world that could replace American built trucks to do what I've been saying this whole time. Like nobody can replace the trucks to pull 8,000 ton, 8,000 pounds. That's 4 tons worth of tongue weight on the back. But our trucks, right? Maybe a 18-wheeler, from Germany could do it or something, but then you're talking about a whole nother class of license and everything here, not just a standard C class C license. They talk about a commercial license, and that's class CDLA or class CDLB if it's not a trailer. So if so, like your concrete mixers, that's CDLB class, in trucks like that where it's all attached as one. And then CDLA will be your like your Freightliners, your internationals, where it's a piece of a truck and you back up to it, like a 30, 40, 50-foot long trailer. You attach it with all the hoses and everything, load your cargo up and take it across OTR, over the road, which is long distance hauling. Uh, like the Tesla Semi, that's an OTR truck. That's a Class A license, not a Class B. And so anyways, this Lightfoot lady needs to go somewhere. She's in the wrong field of trying to understand what men did, for why men did it, and why we did, and why we didn't have no competition from anybody else in the world to replace our trucks. To this day, nobody in the world can replace the trucks we build for what we use them for. There's no other place in the world that builds vehicles like us to do the heavy shit we do. So even to this day, her statement is still not true. She's basing it off of woman thoughts on men things, and women just can't think on men things and understand it. It's null and void to them. So let's continue.
Tax across the different automakers.
That created an incentive to build larger vehicles in three ways. One is that the standards themselves are based on the sizes of vehicles that automakers are producing. The more large vehicles they produce, the lower the regulatory target they have to hit is. That in itself can create an incentive to shift toward larger vehicles. Secondly, the revised rules split vehicles into two categories, passenger cars and light trucks.
Incentive to shift to building them, that's not the incentive at all. Like I said before, the incentive to lower the regulation is so they stay cheaper so that we can have the vehicles we need to pull. Anyways, I've already explained all this. So, like I said, this lady is dumb.
Which includes SUVs and pickup trucks.
If a vehicle is classified as a light truck, then it also has less stringent regulations compared to if it was classified as.
Okay, so but I don't quite get it, because if you're trying to improve the ecological footprint, it doesn't make too much sense to me to have lower regulation on bigger cars, because bigger cars always consume more fuel and need more material to manufacture. So it's kind of going in the opposite way, isn't it?
Passenger car.
Lastly, if a vehicle is big enough, it doesn't fall into the...
I mean, of course, everyone has to pull its own.
And there it is right there. Show me that tongue weight is probably 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of tongue weight. So that's just the weight of this little extension piece pressing down on this truck on the back end. Now, when it presses down on it, that brings the front end up and makes the front end lighter on the contact patches, and so steering could be a problem. And so if this trailer starts wobbling back and forth, it'll wiggle the ass end back here on the back side of the tires. These rear tires will be the pivot point, which can cause the front end to slide off. Then it's called a jackknife. When it folds over and this boat goes forward but still stays attached, and this front end of this truck goes behind it, it's called a jackknife. And so once again, with all that stability, the widening, the heightened of it, the travel, the clearance, the contact patches, the weight distribution, and see, this guy is taking what looks like a miniature shrimping boat of some sort, or fishing boat of some sort, where he's actually taking this out to the ocean to bring product in. So he could be laying crab traps. He could be laying just, with these poles up here at the top. Maybe they don't look strong enough, but possibly running nets behind it to bring in shrimp and other types of things, squid, fish, and stuff. But that's what this boat typically is used for. So once again, he's hauling a big old boat. This is probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 23 to 27-foot long boat. It has 3 axles on it, so we now know that the weight of this, because each axle can hold roughly 2,800 pounds, I think it is. I don't know what model trailer this is. I'm just going off the old school stuff. It's between 2,200 and 2,800 per an axle. So that is 2, 4, 6, 7, That's 8,000 pounds. Remember, I said this right here was putting close to 4 to 8,000 pounds, roughly. So yeah, so this can hold 8,000 pounds. So this is roughly between a 3 ton, 4 ton weight being pulled by this truck. So the truck itself needs to be pretty heavy, right? For stability and for counter, what do you call it? Which is why our engines stay in the front and we never moved them to the bed or whatever, or mid-engine. That's why our engines always stayed in the front. Uh, and diesel uh, used to be in our vehicles for heavy towing and stuff like that, but they're not good at inclines. Yeah, he's going up a hill right now. Uh, uh, ICE engines, gasoline internal combustion engines, have more power, more oomph in them, so that when it starts coming up this hill, instead of slowing down, eventually rolling backwards, uh, you can give it a little more gas, or you'll burn more, but you don't have to worry about this heavy weight behind you bringing you to a stop. You can still make it up and down the hill without overheating the engine or the gears and transmission and all that. So it's literally designed for pulling heavy stuff. And no other vehicle in the world, like I said, no other country's manufacturing of their vehicles makes vehicles like this, unless they're making 18-wheeler style vehicles. So, so once again, that lady didn't know what she was talking about because she doesn't understand why men build trucks. We build trucks so we can build America and maintain America, and that's what trucks are for.
Boat um, with this pickup. So I guess that's the reason why you need it. I mean, that's a very typical picture in Germany too. Like, we like to pull our boats as well. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, you don't see something like this very often in Germany. Maybe a small boat on the highway, but that one is already very big compared to German roads.
Rules at all. It is no longer considered a light-duty vehicle. It is now considered a heavy truck. Whitefoot and fellow researchers did a study in 2011 that basically predicted the repercussions of such laws.
When we evaluate those trade-offs, does this incentive exist under these regulations for automakers to increase the size of the vehicles? And we did see that it could under quite a large set of scenarios.
While the overall size and weight of the fleet haven't changed all that much, they have taken off in certain segments, especially in pickup trucks. Since the mid-1990s, pickup truck weight on average has increased over 1,000 pounds.
How much is that in kilogram? Because I'm a German. I don't know pounds.
Research.
Okay, I just looked it up, and 1,000 pounds is over 450 kilogram. That's a lot.
Research has found that in the event of a crash, a 1,000 pound increase in weight increases the chance of a fatality by 40 to 50%.
The problem is that other people on the road can't choose how big the vehicles around them are. They also can sometimes create situations where a crash that may have...
I'm going to say that is America, because every truck you see has equipment in it because he's working. He's literally driving from one work site to the other or back to the home office to refill up his inventory of whatever. Uh, so I'm going to say this is America. Uh, Plus the fact of the kind of vehicles that are on the road. Uh, but mainly because every truck pretty much has work equipment in it, you can see. So
been avoidable isn't as avoidable. So we found that
every one. And then these vans here could have, say, a bending machine in it where they produce full length gutter systems in. It could be completely mounted in there, and that's why the weight is kind of high. They jumped up by 1,000 pounds or 450 whatever kilos, because the frame itself had to get stronger to hold the heavier weight that we're hauling around, because our infrastructure grew. It's no longer tiny infrastructure that we built. Now we're building larger on top of larger, and we're reinforcing the old and making it new, and so it has to be stronger. We don't build like China does, where it's styrofoam spray painted with stucco over it, and that's a friggin' high-rise building. Okay, we don't have that. We will never do that. We need trucks that can literally haul weight because we're building things strong. We want them to last as long as possible when we build something. That goes for the road, that goes for the buildings, your own home. That's why we literally dig up the land 3, 4 feet and then repack that land with proper materials before we ever even start laying down the plumbing and everything, and then covering plumbing up with what it needs, and then running the plumbing, and then of course building the foundation of a house slash building or whatever it is, and running the plumbing through that base, and then closing it all off type thing. That's why we do that. Uh, that's why buildings are expensive today. But anyways, that's America guaranteed, because even this truck right here, uh, uh, yeah. So anyway, so that's why you almost always see trucks with stuff in the back during the daytime. They're literally driving from one site to the next.
That some trucks have front blind spots that are 11 feet
Yeah,
longer
exactly.
than in
That's what
some
I thought.
sedans and 7 feet longer than in a lot of popular SUVs.
We've seen like what we call an arms race in vehicle size and weight, because if I'm concerned about my own safety, I'm just concerned about, is my vehicle bigger and heavier than other vehicles around me? And so vehicles, as a result, get larger and larger and larger because people just want to outcompete each other.
See, she has no idea why vehicles are actually getting bigger. Like I said, she needs to quit her job because she is misinforming people. She is literally spreading lies because she's a woman. She thinks in passenger car thoughts where her family's at and that her family's safety, and therefore she decides that she wants a bigger vehicle to outcompete people. Men don't do that. Men will have a Ford Ranger squatted all the way to the ground, sitting on airbags with the ability to lift it up 6, 7 inches, or lower it all the way flat pancake to the ground, and still use it to pull a trailer to go do plumbing and replumb a whole house before it's ever built. Like literally, once they do the ground where they dig the 3 foot out and they got it set up, you go lay the plumbing down. Like he will literally use that same car to do that. Why would he have a tiny truck flat to the ground sitting on airbags to go to work in if he was worried about being a bigger truck, yada yada? See, that's a woman mentality. Women need to get out of men's things. Okay, just get out of our things, because you can't understand what we're doing and you're thinking like a woman, and that's hurting our industry. So if you bring up the price on these trucks and we can't afford them, then we can't build anymore. We can't do what we need to do. We can't make America great, and we can't maintain America to keep it great. And y'all women need to shut up and stay out of our business, okay? Plain and simple. When it comes to our business, shut up, because this is exactly the retarded shit that you keep putting out and false informing people with your scaredy tactics of being a woman. Okay, don't think in passenger terms like a mother should think. Like, we want you to think like a mother, but we don't need you to think like that in our field. That just doesn't help us out at all. It literally counteracts everything we're trying to do. Like, we'd never be a great country if that was the talk, if women talked like that every time we wanted to build a international truck to haul cargo from one side of the country to the other, so that we can get Maine's lobsters to Oklahoma. Okay, that's, you would have stopped that. So get out of our business. All women, all women need to get out of our business. Okay. Matter of fact, I think y'all need to have jobs that are in the educational school boards, teachers, because our kids need our mothers. Okay, sure they need their fathers, but fathers will teach them father things, like I'm telling you, to get out of. Right, we'll teach our kids that, but y'all need to support and protect our kids and think that way, and worry about that situations. We'll handle the man things, like plain and simple. I know it's a hot take, my bad. uh Nux Taku or Asmongold might even say I'm a little out there on saying that, but anyways, let's get back on.
Big cars
That's
tend to be more
crazy.
expensive than small ones.
We've seen median transaction prices rise pretty considerably over the last few years. Part of that is due to the simple fact that small entry-level vehicles have increasingly been disappearing from U.S. showrooms.
I mean, if you have such a passenger car on American road, I would feel so small. I totally get the point. Like, if I'd be driving around in my Audi A3 or whatever, it is so small compared to American truck. Like, I would also want to be in a truck to kind of compete on the road. Like, I get it.
Small entry-level.
Well, then, Mr. Carl, don't get in a Corvette. Don't get in a Lamborghini. Don't get in any of those cars where you're only 3 inches from the ground and your butt literally is 4 inches from the ground. Uh, like literally. Like that's how low you are in those cars. So once again, you're thinking like a woman. You need to get out of that thought process and think like a man. A smaller car is actually more nimble and faster and easily and lighter, and so it's faster to stop, maneuver, go around, accelerate, decelerate, everything. So therefore, you have way more control to avoid accidents, not create an accident, get out of a situation that's going to create an accident, or move around somebody fast enough and nimble enough to where you don't cause other accidents. Uh, and so to speak. So the smaller the car is, or as a matter of fact, the smaller the vehicle is, all the way down to like a 1,000 Jinxter motorcycle, you've actually got more control. Well, okay, two wheels is, but let's stay in the four wheels. So all the way down to a Mazda Miata, okay, you have so much control in that vehicle that you can now like just whip around things. Somebody slams on the brake, you don't slam on the brake. What you do is you slam on the gas and you steer around them, like literally. So you're already looking, and you already know that there's nobody to your right, but there is someone to your left. So when the car in front of you slams on the brakes, instead of you trying to slam on the brakes and hope you don't hit them from behind, you can now just drive to the right, press the gas, make your car shoot out to the right lane. Okay. Easier to control, easier to steer, it's lighter. Boom, get out there. That car does its thing, and now you can go back into your lane in front of them and keep going, and they can worry about their problem. That's so there's no scarediness of being in a smaller car. Matter of fact, that's why men have smaller cars like the Corvettes and stuff, because you have more nimbleness, more freedom, and more controllability to get out of or to not create accidents. So that makes no sense. Once again, that's female thinking in a man's world, and that needs to get out of here.
Vehicles have increasingly been disappearing from U.S. showrooms.
Automakers are axing small models. The Toyota Yaris is gone from the US. Ford discontinued just about all its passenger cars, including its Focus and Fiesta. Chevrolet got
That's
rid
what
of the
many people
Summit
drive
and
in
the
Germany.
Cruze. The Hyundai Accent and Kia Rio are on their way out. The Nissan Versa sells just a fraction of what it used to. And that applies for entire brands specializing in small cars, like Fiat.
All right, all those cars were super, super tiny cars. Okay, like useless to take your kids to school in, because a backpack fills up the back seat while your kid sits in the front seat. I mean, what happens when you have two kids? Now you got to try to fit two backpacks, two kids. The Fiat was just retarded. I don't know. That's a play car, like literally a Tonka toys you'd give to maybe your 16-year-old daughter when she gets her first license. Uh, to run around in because it's cheap, small, and lightweight, and you're not expecting her to get on any major highways and go over 55 miles an hour type stuff. That's why they fail, because our speed limits are higher than 55, and we want to protect our kids. We want our kids in a nice sized vehicle, uh, not too big, not too small. That way they get used to some of the blind spots that a car naturally creates, and pays attention and learns how to really drive using their eyesight and brain at the same time, and hearing. Uh, so that's why these cars didn't sell well and don't sell well here in America, because we don't need K cars. That's that simple. They're useless. They're just completely useless. They don't have the engine to get up to 70 miles an hour. They don't have the wear and tear ability to last for a long time. You barely bump a curb like kids do, and your whole rim flies off with your tire and bolts and everything. And now you got to get a whole new axle, CV axle, and everything. Anyways, they're just piece of shits. That's why they didn't make it. Now, your small trucks, on the other hand, there there are many people still holding on to like your 1998, the 2004 uh, Fords and Rangers, Toyota Tacomas, Nissan Frontiers. There are many people still holding on to those trucks. And we have, they'll put nice rims on it, nice tires on it, fatter tires, so you get better contact patch, better shocks and stuff on it. But the 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder engine that came in it is still running strong after 300 and some thousand miles. Transmission goes out rough, like from my experience, at 286,000 miles. The transmission finally went out. We just had it rebuilt. because it was just the plates inside that needed to be fixed. So was pulled out. New plates and stuff were put back in, and electronics rebuilt and put back in, and still works. Like the engine itself has never been pulled apart and replaced anything major. Uh, so those trucks last a long time, and they're great for if you're doing garden at your house, if you're hauling woodworking equipment, or like doing any kind of construction on your house, like building a front porch. They're great for hauling feed out on your smaller farms, right? So you're just taking, like say 40 pounds to this patch of farm with only like 8 cows on it, and you're just taking these pellets to these 3 horses on another part of the farm. Great for that. Saves you gas, especially the 4 cylinders. And it can still go over the rough country out there in the fields, to get to the places you need to. If it gets in the mud, it can still mud. So anyway, that's why these piece of shit little thick cars died. That is once again, a guy probably invented them thinking that women would fall for it. And women probably did fall for it, and a lot of women probably own these small little dinky Yaris's and Honda Leafs and all them other stupid cars. But those are retarded people that need to stay out of our business for what men do. Once again. All right, let's get back.
They've left the US entirely. Meanwhile, Fiat's American sister brands, Ram and Jeep, have become tremendously successful, selling some of the most
you
popular
rarely
vehicles
see
available
such cars
today,
in
big SUVs
Europe.
and pickup trucks. While small cars are tough to sell in much of the US, they are still popular where roads are too narrow, gas is too pricey, and parking too scarce to justify hulking
That's so European.
pickups or SUVs. With more interior space, some industry analysts say it is possible Americans will seek out smaller cars simply because new EV vehicle designs will make better use of a car's total footprint. Tastes change too,
that's true.
even after decades of obsession. Peyton has lately developed a fascination with small.
All right, that's not true. Back to so the more the engine, whether it's a motor for electric vehicles or ICE, internal combustion engine, or a diesel compression engine, okay, the more horsepower slash torque you have, the wider the wheelbase, and of course, the wider the wheelbase, the more square it becomes. So you have to make, oh, I said that wrong. So the wider the vehicle's frame is, the longer the wheelbase has to be, accordingly to how much power it has, how fast it drives. It can drive at its top speed for stability reasons. So therefore, you'll never see, say, say a Model 3 with a Tesla Plaid setup in it. Like that would be what we call a Rat Pack car. I don't know if you ever seen those old cars where they're super tiny but got the huge engine sticking out the front. They're pretty much like drag cars. You don't take a drag car, okay? You see how skinny that is? Sure, they make it long so that it doesn't pop a wheelie and stuff and all that, and the engine's put in the center. But you do see it bouncing, right? So, anyways, it's not as wide because it's just going in a straight line. They don't ever expect to turn down that track at 150 miles an hour or even 70 miles an hour or even 10 miles an hour. Like literally, your car has to get wider the bigger the engine. So, no, cars will never go so tiny with say, a Tesla motor, a single Tesla motor, and that goes 0 to 160 miles an hour in 5 seconds. Okay, you'll never see a drag racer car on the street. That, that thin cars. It just can't be possible because then you're only driving in straight lines once again. Uh, or you're driving at 2 miles an hour everywhere as you go, so you don't roll over. Rollover is a big killer, bigger than bigger than rear end collisions and side collisions. Side collisions from the passenger side. So driver side and front end collisions and front left corner collisions are still the big killers. But yeah, the math isn't mathing. Once again, I have to think that this guy has been influenced by this girl, and so he's thinking purely like a woman in a man's area that men should be thinking in. Let's get on with the next one.
Agile British cars. He bought a 1961 MGA, which is dwarfed by the size of his Cadillac.
What car
I've
is
always
that?
flirted with British cars. They're interesting. They look at a different way to do it.
American GIs became obsessed with cars like these during World War II. That obsession unnerved American car makers enough to prompt the creation.
Okay, that was the Corvette in that one, the single headlight one, and then this one right here, that's the Mustang. I'm wanting to say a 56, 57. somewhere in there because of that metal piece that they added inside that little dip in that they got on the side of the car. My family actually owned one of those and think still owns it. I think it's a 57. Could be a 56. But I think between is it a 56, 57? Or is it a 65, 66, 67? I think it's 50. Anyways, yeah, but that's the Mustang. And it's a soft top Mustang at that.
Of a new generation of smaller, more agile American cars, such as the Corvette, the Ford Thunderbird, and eventually the Ford Mustang, each a legend in its own right.
The whole start of...
I don't know why, but I feel like these classic American cars, they just have so much character and such nice design. I feel like I'm missing it out a little bit on the German cars, and they're very nice too. Couldn't say anything else. But they look so nice.
The Americans' love affair with the automobile and sports cars, that all came out of English cars.
All right, that was very interesting. So it's like...
Oh yeah, Speed Racer. Back in the early 80s. Was one of the cars. I think that I forgot the name of that car. Crap. But yeah. Hint why that last car that he was showing sitting there kind of looked like a Corvette, like the 55 to 59, 62, 55 to 62 series Corvettes.
all about regulations, I think, and I feel like if everyone does it, everyone just does it. But I especially liked the fuel cap. Yeah, there it is. I mean, how awesome is that? Look at it. It just opens it.
Probably 19 feet something.
That's crazy.
His collection
I really
shows
like
the
it.
American.
So thanks for sticking around and see you on the next one.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and move on. Once again, I want to give a special shout out to the private donor that allowed me to have this mic. Hopefully this has been a better journey with the way it sounds. I'm going to watch this video before I make it public. Hopefully it sounds good. I'm still going to make it public regardless for the journey. And I'm thinking about redoing the other ones if this mic works out better. Once again, it's a Sennheiser Public. So that'll be it for me. See y'all on the next one.